Huh. Wonder what that could be. So my copy of Enoch was not supposed to arrive until like a week or two from now. So, hmm. Wonder what that. All right. Okay. So, moving on here. All right. So now we're about to start First Kings chapters 7 to 8. Okay. And obviously, I'm gonna have to change the Samaritan Pentateuch to Masoretic text because we're getting past the Torah here. Okay, so First Kings chapter 7. All right, so here we go. All right, so King Solomon sent Hiram from Tyre. He was the son of a widow woman from the tribe of Naphtali. His father was a citizen of Tyre and a bronzesmith. He was filled with skill, understanding, and knowledge of how to do all work in bronze, and he was brought to King Solomon and did all kinds of work. He cast the porch of the house. 18 cubits was the height of the pillar. The circumference was 14 cubits around, and the thickness of the pillar was 4 fingers across the hollow. The set apart pillar was the same. He made 2 capitals to put on the tops of the pillars formed of cast bronze. 5 cubits was the height of 1 capital. He made 2 lattice works to cover the capital of the pillars, and a lattice work for the 1 capital, and a lattice work for the 2nd capital. The work was suspended with 2 rows of bronze pomegranates. The lattice work was suspended row on row the same way he made the 2nd capital. He set the pillars of Elam of the main hall. He set 1 pillar and he called its name Yakin. He set the 2nd pillar, called its name Boaz. And upon the heads of the pillars was the work of a lily according to Elam, 4 cubits, and the ceiling was on both sides of the pillars, and above the sides, the capital was the ceiling. In cubits, he made the sea 10 cubits from its wall to its rim. It was circular in shape, its height 5 cubits, taking 33 cubits to go around. Supports under its rim, encircled all around. 10 cubits all around its rim as the work of a rim of a cup like a lily shoot. Its thickness was, let me try to put a little light on so I can read here. Anyway, all right, so let's see. Its rim was the work of a rim of a cup like a lily shoot. Its thickness was a palm's breadth. 12 bowls were below the sea, 3 looking to the north, 3 looking to the sea, 3 looking to the south, and 3 looking to the east. Okay, let me see. I think I'm going to read on my screen here because there's not enough light in here. Struggling a little bit reading from my physical Septuagint. All right. Oh, wow. Okay. So they do it a little different here. Okay, I see. Okay, so there's only 12 verses and 7 for them. All right. Okay. All right, so this is weird. Okay. Let's see here. So I was at verse 14. He made 10 bronze stands. 5 cubit was one height of one of those stands. 4 cubits was its width. 6 cubits was its height. This was the work of the bases connected to them, connected to the middle of the uprights. On their borders at the middle uprights were lions, bulls, and cherubim. And they were on the uprights as well, above and beneath. The lions and the bulls were places of beveled work. To each stand there were 4 bronze wheels, bronze holders, and their 4 legs had shoulders under the basin. The hands and the wheels were in stands, and the height of one wheel was a cubit and a half. The work of the wheels was the work of chariot wheels. Their hands and their backs and their work were all formed of cast metal. As for the four shoulders on the four corners in each, okay, of the stands, its shoulders were from the stands. At the top of the stands, at the top of the stand, the beginning of its handles and its rims, it opened at four ends. Its rims were set with cherubim, lions, and date palms. He had each stand carved on face and side and all around. In this way, he made all the 10 stands, all them to a single class and to a single rule. He made 10 bronze basins and measured for each basin, holding 40 bath measures, each basin for each stand of the 10 stands. He placed 5 stands on the shoulder of the north of the house. The sea was on the shoulder of the south, and of the house to the south, east way from the sides. Hiram made the kettles, the tongs, and the bowls. Hiram completed all the work that he did for King Solomon in the house of Yahuwah. He made 2 pillars, 2 capitals for the pillars on the tops of the pillars, and 2 lattices to cover both carved capitals that were on the pillars. There were 400 pomegranates for each of the lattices, with 2 rows of pomegranates for each lattice to cover each, being the capitals of the stands on both of the pillars. There were 10 stands and 10 basins on the stands. There was 1 sea and 12 bowls under the sea. There were the kettles, the tongs, and the shallow bowls, and every vessel that Hiram made for King Solomon for the house of Yahuwah. There were 48 pillars of the house of the king and the house of Yahuwah. All the works of the king Hiram did were of pure bronze. All these works of bronze that he made were not weighed. They were of a very great number. There was no limit to the weight of the bronze. In the region of the Jordan, he cast them in the clay of the earth, between Succoth and Zarethan. King Solomon took the vessels that he made for the house, the golden altar, the golden table on which were the bread of the offering, the lampstand, 5 on the left and 5 on the right on the face of the inner set apart place, completed with gold, and the lamp bowls, the lamps, the golden funnel, and the doorways with the nails, the shallow bowls, the cups, the enclosed gold censers, the panels of the doors of the house of the inner most set apart place, and the golden doors of the temple. So the work for the house of Yahuwah that Solomon did was completed, and Solomon brought in the set apart vessels of David his father, and all the set apart vessels of Solomon. The silver and the gold he placed in the treasure of the house of Yahuwah. Solomon built his house in 13 years. He built the house of the forest of Lebanon. 100 cubits was its length, 50 cubits was its width. There were 3 rows of cedar pillars and cedar supports for the pillars. He roofed the house from above over the sides of the pillars. The number of the pillars was 45 for each row. The structures were 3, and they were threefold, place upon place. All the doorways and the squared places had been connected from the doorway to the door in sets of 3. The porch of the pillars was 50 long and 50 in width. They were joined to the porch on their face. Thick pillars were on its face at the judgment seat, and their house, he will sit there in the house, and their house, he will sit there in the house, was 1 cord around these according to this work, and the house for the daughter of Pharaoh, whom Solomon took, matched this porch. All these were carved from precious stones from the space within and from the foundation up to the projecting part of the roof and outside into the great court. The foundation was laid with costly and large stones, stones 10 cubits long and stones 8 cubits long, and on the top costly stones and cedars were selected according to measure. There were 3 courses encircling the great court. Each course was of chosen joined cedar. Solomon completed his whole house. So far we're seeing the building of Yahuwah's temple, Solomon's house, and then the house that he had for the daughter of Pharaoh. So it's very interesting, man. When I would always read this, I'd be like, man, is this where he's starting to mess up? He's marrying a foreign woman. I'm just saying. This is like his first foreign woman that he has. So just something, in my opinion, to keep an eye on. All right, so the ark enters the temple. So now it's talking about the Ark of the Covenant here. So now the Ark of the Covenant is being brought into Yahuwah's house. Chapter 8. Let me move to chapter 8 here. Okay. All right, so... All right. So it happened as Solomon finished building the house of Yahuwah and his own house after 20 years. Then King Solomon convened all the elders of Yasharal in Zion to bear the Ark of the Covenant of Yahuwah from the city of David. I have it in little parentheses here. It says the city of David, that is in Zion. So take that with a grain of salt. The translator believes that the city of David would have been in Zion. In the month of Evanim, the priest took up the ark and the tent of witness and the set-apart vessels that are in the tent of witness. The king and all Yasharal were in the front of the ark, slaughtering sheep, bulls without number. The priests brought the ark into its place, into the inner set-apart place of the house, to the most set-apart place beneath the wings of the cherubim, because the cherubim spread out their wings over the place of the ark. And the cherubim covered over the ark and over its set-apart things above. The dedicated things reached out, and the heads of the dedicated things peered out from the set-apart things to the face of the inner set-apart place, but they did not appear outside. Nothing was in the ark except 2 stone tablets of the covenant that Moshe put at Horeb, and that Yahuwah arranged with the sons of Yasharal when they came out from the land of Egypt. It happened when the priests withdrew from the set-apart place that the cloud filled the house. The priests were not able to stand to minister from the face of the cloud because the splendor of Yahuwah filled the house. Solomon's speech. Now, this is the famous prayer that I think all of us know from 2 Chronicles chapter 7. So this part of chapter 8 is going to be kind of like a parallel. It's kind of like a retelling of 2 Chronicles chapter 7 when Solomon makes his speech and then his prayer of dedication. Okay, here we go. So verse 14 of chapter 8. The king turned his face back, and the king Baruched all Yasharal. All the assembly of Yasharal stood. He said, Baruch be Yahuwah, Elohim of Yasharal, who today spoke with his mouth concerning David my father, and with his hand has fulfilled it. Who's the right hand of the Father? That's obviously Yahusha. So it says, with his hand he has fulfilled it, saying, from the day when I led my people, Yasharal, out from Egypt, I have not chosen a city in any tribe of Yasharal to build a house for my name, to be there. Remember all the commandments we see in the Torah, to the place where he has his name dwell. So this is the context now. This is showing us the context of that. Okay, so let me see here. From the day when I look, okay, I have not chosen the city for my name to be there. I chose my name to remain there in Jerusalem. Okay. Okay, so let's see. In Jerusalem, and I chose David to be over my people, Yasharal. It came upon the heart of my father to build a house to the name of Yahuwah, Elohim of Yasharal. But Yahuwah said to David, my father, because it came upon your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that it was upon your heart. You will not build the house, but your son, who comes from your sides or loins, this one will build the house for my name. Yahuwah confirmed his word that he spoke. So he confirmed the word that he spoke. I arose in place of David, my father, and I sat on the throne of Yasharal just as he spoke. I built the house for the name of Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal. I put there a place for the ark in which there is the covenant of Yahuwah that Yahuwah made with our fathers when he led them out of the land of Egypt. Solomon's prayer of dedication. Verse 22, Solomon stood up at the face of the altar of Yahuwah before all the assembly of Yasharal and spread out his hands to heaven. He said, Yahuwah, Elohim of Yasharal, there is no Elohim like you in heaven above, on the earth below, keeping covenant and mercy to your servant who walks before you with his whole heart, which you have kept for your servant David, my father. For you spoke with your mouth, with your hand, you fulfilled as this day. Now, Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, keep with your servant David, my father, the promises that you spoke with him, saying, there shall not be removed from you a man from the face of me who will sit on the throne of Yasharal, except my bad, I'm always losing my place here. Except if your children watch to walk in their ways before me, just as you walked before me. And now, Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, let indeed your word to David my father be made trustworthy, that if Elohim will truly live with humans on earth, if the sky and the sky of skies will not be sufficient for you, surely also this house that I built for your name. You know what's funny? Yahushua actually quotes that exact verse as a boy in the temple. So I'm just saying that it's a very famous cross-reference that I grew up knowing in Christianity, that verse right there. If the heavens can't continue, how can this house that I've built for your name? And Yahushua quotes that as a child in his human ministry. Look upon my prayer, O Yahuwah, Elohim of Yasharal. Hear the joy that your servant prays before you and to you today. May your eyes be open to this house day and night, to the place concerning which you said, my name will be there, to hear the prayer that your servant prays to this place day and night. May you listen. May you listen to the prayer of your servant and of your people, Yasharal, whenever they pray to this place. May you listen in the place of your dwelling in heaven, and may you act and be merciful. Whenever anyone sins against his neighbor and then takes an oath on himself that he swears in, he comes and confesses at the face of your altar at this house, then may you listen from heaven. Then may you listen from heaven, act and rightly rule your people, Yasharal, to those found wicked, to appoint on his way to his head, and to declare righteous the righteous one by giving to him according to his righteousness. When your people, Yasharal, are defeated before enemies because they have sinned against you, and they turn and confess your name and pray and are bound at this house, then may you listen from heaven and be merciful towards the sin of your servant Yasharal, and may you return them to the land that you gave to their fathers. So this is a cool prayer here. It's almost like a prophetic foreshadowing to the captivity of Babylon. When the heavens are restrained and there is no rain because they are sinning against you, and they pray to this place and they confess your name and they turn away from their sins when you have humbled them, then may you listen from heaven and be merciful for the sins of your servant and of your people Yasharal, so that you may show them the way to walk in it, and may you give rain on the land that you gave to your servant for an inheritance. If famine comes, if death comes, because there's burning, locust, or blight, if it comes, or if his enemy afflicts him in one of his cities, any adversary or any affliction, when any prayer or any entreaty comes by any person, so each one is aware of the infection of his heart, and if he should spread out his hands to this house, then may you hear from heaven, from your prepared abode, and may you be merciful, and you will act and give to a man according to his ways, just as you know his heart. Because you alone know the hearts of all the sons of humans, so that they will be afraid of you all the days as much as they live on the land that you gave to our fathers. For the foreigner who is not from this your people, and they will come and pray to this place, and then may you hear from heaven, from your prepared abode, and may you do according to everything for which the foreigner invokes you or calls upon you, that all the peoples may know of your name and may fear you just as your people Yasharal, and may know that your name is called over this house that I have built. For when your people go out to battle against its enemies on any road that you turn. So that I have built. For when your people go out to battle against his enemies, verse 44 of chapter 8 of 1 Kings, battle against his enemies on any road that you turn them, and they pray in the name of Yahuwah on the way to the city that you have chosen, and from heaven their entreaty, and concerning the house that I have built for your name, then you will hear when they sin against you, because there is no human who does not sin, and you bring them and you hand them over to enemies, and the ones who take captives take a land captive, whether far away or near, but their heart turns in the land where they are carried away. There and they turn in the land of their exile and entreat you, saying, we have sinned, we have done wrong, we have acted lawlessly, which, by the way, this actually happens in the book of Daniel. Just thought I would mention that. Okay, so, and if they turn toward you with their whole heart and with their whole soul in the land of their enemies, where you deported them, and they pray toward you the way of their land that you deported them, and they pray toward the way of their land that you gave to their fathers, to the city that you have chosen, and the house that I have built for your name, then may you listen from heaven, from your prepared abode, and be merciful toward their sins, and they have sinned against you, and according to all their transgressions that they have broken belief with you, and you shall give them mercy before those who have been taken them captive, and they will have pity for them, because they are your people and your inheritance, whom you led out of the land of Egypt from the midst of the iron smelting furnace. Let your eyes and your ears, let your eyes and your ears be open to the entreaty of your servant and to the entreaty of your people, Yasharal, to listen to them in every case whenever they call upon you. For you separate to yourself for an inheritance from all the people of the earth, just as you spoke by the hand of your servant Moshe, when you brought out our fathers out from the land of Egypt, O Yahuwah, O Yahuwah. Then Solomon spoke over the house when he finished building it. Yahuwah made known the sun in the sky. He said while dwelling out of darkness, build my house as a preeminent house for yourself. Interesting, preeminent. That's an interesting word to be used there. For yourself, to dwell in newness. Look, is this not written in the document of Psalms? And it happened as Solomon completed praying all this prayer and the entreaty to Yahuwah, he rose from the face of the altar of Yahuwah, having knelt on his knees and having spread out his hands to heaven. And he stood and baruched all the assembly of Yasharal with a loud voice, saying, Baruched be Yahuwah today, who gave rest to his people, Yasharal, according to all that he spoke. Not one word was disagreed with all his Tob works that he spoke by the hand of his servant Masha. May Yahuwah our Elohim be with us, just as he was with our fathers. May he not leave us, nor turn back from us. May he incline our hearts upon him in order to walk in all his ways and to guard all his commands and his ordinances that he commanded our fathers. Let these words come about as I have bound before Yahuwah our Elohim, bringing near to Yahuwah our Elohim day and night, so that he may make the duty of your servant, Yasharal, a word day by day of the year, in such a manner as all peoples of the earth may know that Yahuwah Elohim, he is Elohim, and there is no other. But let our hearts be perfect toward Yahuwah our Elohim, and let us walk with devotion by his decrees and guard his commands in the manner on this day. And now we're at the last part of this chapter, the dedication of the temple. Verse 62, the king and all the sons of Yasharal sacrificed a sacrifice before Yahuwah. King Solomon sacrificed peace offerings that he sacrificed to Yahuwah, 22,000 bulls. And the king and all the sons of Yasharal set apart the house of Yahuwah. On that day, the king dedicated the middle of the courtyard toward the face of the house of Yahuwah, for he made there the burnt offering, the sacrifices, and the fat of the peace offerings, because the bronze altar before Yahuwah was small, so that it was not able to hold the burnt offering, the sacrifices, and the peace offerings. So Solomon made the festival on that day, and all Yasharal with him. It was a great assembly from the entrance of Hamath until the river of Egypt before Yahuwah our Elohim at the house that he built, eating and drinking and rejoicing before Yahuwah our Elohim for 7 days. I think we can kind of figure out what feast this is, rejoicing for 7 days. On the 8th day, or as some would like to call it, the last great day, he sent away the people, they baruched him, and departed each to his tent with rejoicing and a glad heart for the Tob things that Yahuwah had done for David, his servant, and Yasharal, his people. So it seems like this temple was actually dedicated to tabernacles. I could be wrong, but it seems like that's when it was happening in Solomon's day, that they were having the week-long Feast of Tabernacles. They were rejoicing. He sends them home on the last great day. So really, really interesting stuff here in chapter 8. Very beautiful prayer by Solomon. We see obviously he still has a heart for Yahuwah to serve him with his whole heart. So it seems like he has not fell yet, but we're going to see later on, as you get later on in the book of Kings, First Kings, you'll see later on that unfortunately his women is his downfall for King Solomon. So, but this is a beautiful prayer here. It's one of my favorite prayers in Scripture, is King Solomon's prayer that you can find in here, and also the one in 2 Chronicles chapter 7. So anyway. All right, so that's the end of our Kings portion. We just did chapter 8. I noticed that, I think we got a couple comments here. Okay, cool. All right, we're good. All right, so we're going to take a short intermission, everyone. We're going to be back. We got to figure out who's going to have what, who's going to be reading next, and how we're going to be dividing the rest of the readings for today. So give us a couple minutes to a half an hour, everyone. We'll be back shortly, and we'll be going into, let's see here. So we just did Exodus and First Kings. We will be doing next Jeremiah 32 to 47. So we'll have a couple readers splitting that up. All right, so please stay tuned, everyone, and thank you for joining us. To our brothers and sisters out there, Shabbat Shalom. We'll be back shortly.